Hello, everyone. This is Kevin Dolly with the Bancho Boys, and I bring with me Charles Box with the Bancho Boys as well. He recently played and went 4-2 in a Win-A-Box tournament hosted by PPG. He decided to update birds. So I wanted to ask real quick before we get into the deck profile, what made you update and bring birds to a big tournament?
Well, I've been testing this build for a while. I originally saw this idea. There was a big Digimon regional in Indonesia that was playing a version of this deck, and they basically kind of clapped everyone, and it came out of nowhere. And so I thought, I'm a big fan of the bird deck in general, so I wanted to try out this different variant, and as soon as I started trying it, I just fell in love with it because a lot of the things that the regular birds with Phoenix and Phoenix X suffer from, the ancient package just completely solves that for you.
Nice, man. So, seeing the list, of course, it's mostly a bird's bottom end with a little bit of spice added in there, and we'll go over that when we go over the profile. And it looks like the big winners for our list is Medieval, Gallant, and Ancient. So, if you will, let's start at the bottom and work our way up because it is Bird's AncientGreymon, or just, so Ancient
Yes.
Birds is the most used name for this deck profile. So we'll start at the bottom, we'll work our way up. So of course, I think we only have one egg that's usable in this deck because it starts off all our combos. So go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, Yokomon from BT15 on delete. Return an avian, bird, beast, animal, or sovereign, basically just in the bird archetype to your hand. This is the, as you said, the main combo enabler. So what this deck does, why we have the ancient package, is that well, for the bird mechanic, for how the deck works, it mostly focuses around being able to be aggro and free play a lot of your Digimon. And how they normally do that is with their main tamer, the memory setter Sora. And so what Sora says is when you return a red Digimon card from your trash to your hand, you can bounce her to your hand to play a Digimon in the archetype with 13,000 DP or less. The maximum is reduced by 2k for each card in their security. So what this deck tries to do is to be aggro, get their security down at least to 2 or 3 so that you can start playing your bigger birds, because when you're at 3 security you can play a Digimon with 7,000 DP or less, which is all of your Garudamons except for Garuda X, so you get to free play those, and most of them have the ability to allow you to play a Tamer when they are played. So it just kind of combos from there. And what Yokomon does, it starts off that combo, it gets back a Digimon from trash so you can bounce your Sora and then play more of your birds and keep your combo aggro going. And where the ancient package helps with that is that it just gives you so much early aggression, because just going a Gunimon on top of one of your Biomons, swinging to use a Gunimon's ability to warp to ancient for 2, that's 2 checks right there, 12k if you live. You might die, but if you die, that's fine. Because when Ancient dies, the on deletion allows you to grab a hybrid and a Tamer back to hand. So you get your Goonie that was in that stack back to hand, and you get a Tamer if you have a Tamer in trash. You might not have one. And then you get to play any Tamer from your hand for free. So you can play your Memory Setter Sora. And then Yokomon is in that stack, the on deletion will trigger, allowing you to get, say, the Biomon that was in that stack back, which will trigger Sora to allow bounce to the hand. And then you can play, if they're at 3 security, you can play Garudamon, like Garuda Ace, who's on play, plays a red Tamer, a play cost 4 or less, so hey, you get to play Sora again. Rinse and repeat. That's like one of the main early combos you want to do with this deck.
Yeah, funnily enough, it does seem like the egg is pretty much one of the main factors of the deck. If you don't have the egg, you have to find some other way to bounce back some trash to propagate the combo.
Yes.
And speaking of our small little birds, let's move on to Biomons. We are playing the 10 Biomons. We have one combo Biomon that's in this, and the rest are searchers, along with their way to gain memory to help cheeky, analog plays to retain turn and keep the raising moving. So we'll move on to the Biomons.
Yeah, so first we have BT11 Searcher Bio. Look at top 3, grab a vaccine trait and a red Tamer. Of note, which is really cool in this deck, is that AncientGreymon is a vaccine, so he is grabbable.
He is just a vaccine. Bird.
It's birds were dinosaurs at one point, so hey, they just fit, right? And then on delete, if you have red Tamer, you gain 1 memory. It's really cool. If this is in the stack with Ancient, if you don't have a Tamer, you can use Ancient's effect to play a Tamer, then trigger this Biomon, so you get that memory gain off of that way. So it's pretty easy to get that one. And then let's look at the SR Biomon, which is like one of the main dig cards in this deck, and that helps set up your combo. So at the start of your main, if this is on board, you can trash a card and archetype to reveal the top 4 cards of your deck to add any red card, not a red Digimon or Tamer, just any red card. Grabs options too. It's just the amount of dig in this deck is ridiculous. You can just so easily find all of your pieces, which is why the Ancient package works so well. And then the Inherit, whenever their opponent's security stack is removed in your turn, you gain a memory. So it's really cool, like what you're saying with the analog play. So one of the cool things you really want to do is have your Ancient delete it while it's still your turn. So say you swing with a Goonie while you have SR Biomon in their stack. You use the ability to warp, you pass over 2. You do your 2 checks, Biomon will recover 1. Then they're at 1. It'll be the end of your turn, so Ancient will die via the Agunimon effect. If you have Analog Youth on the board, Analog will trigger to suspend to gain a memory, patch the memory back to 0, so you retain turn, and then you can hatch, allowing you to keep recycling your raising, setting it up for your following turn while you're still doing all your on deletion, setting your Sora, bouncing it to play a Garudamon, setting more Tamers, just making sure that if they can answer your board on their turn, you still have something to push up and continue your tempo plays your next turn. And then finally, the last Biomon we play is the BT13 Biomon, which is the Warp one. So when this is played by an effect, you can return Chrissy Daemon, one of your red Tamers, back to your hand to warp into a Garudamon for free, ignoring the Digivolution requirements. This is really cool in combo with Chrissy herself, because Chrissy, when she is played, gives any of your Digimon the on delete. You may play a Biomon from your hand or trash for free. So one of the cool things, and she also gives you a memory at the start of your turn if you have a bird or avian on the board, which does help in multiples, because there will be a lot of times you have multiple Chrissies on the board, where you will play the BT13 Bio to bounce a Chrissy, to go into your Garuda. Say you go into BT13 Garuda, who's on play, just plays a red Tamer, play cost of 3 or less. So you play Chrissy back, and you give that Garudamon the on delete again. So if it gets deleted, you could play another Biomon, BT13 Bio, to bounce Chrissy, to warp into another Garuda if you have another in hand, and it just allows you to have that extra sticky body on board. Also, if you were to play Chrissy and target a Goonie, and then swing, do your analog retain turn plays, not only do you get an extra Tamer, you get another body on board, you can warp into another Garudamon if you play BT13 Bio. There's so many different combos and different plays you can make. Also, if you set it up on their turn with Chrissy on delete to play Garuda Ace, then Garuda Ace will play any of your Tamers. If any of their Digimon are blockers, then you just get to pop it like that. So it's kind of also, you have this little pseudo ace mechanic if you're trying to set up for some defensive plays.
And that's just the small birds. So moving on to, I guess, our honorary doggo and our honorary little man with the fire fists. So These two are very key pieces to the deck, one of which is just an accelerant for DP, because DP does still matter, and the other is our warp.
Yeah, so this is probably like the weird card for a lot of people in this deck, Zuba Igamon. So what it says is you can pay 1 cost to put this under any of your Legend Arm trait Digimon or one of your level 4 Digimon to give it plus 4k for the turn. And then the Inherit gives it plus 2k. So the idea of to have this card is you pay 1 to slot it under a Goonie, so it'll get plus 6k on your turn. And your main deletion effects, being Ancient and Garuda X, are determined by how high their DP is. So if you tuck Zuba Iga under a Goonie, then swing Warped Ancient, it will be 18k, so you can delete anything with 18,000 DP or less. Likewise, if you tuck Zuba Iga under a Goonie, go to a Garuda, go to Garuda X will be 14k, so you could pop anything with 14k DP or less, which is basically anything that doesn't have any form of protection. So it's really cool there. Also, it does help you kind of with your combo plays, because there will be some times where you go to a Goonie and then you swing a warp into Ancient where you might not be able to pass turn. So being able to just pay that extra 1 to make sure you can pass turn and then retain turn with analog, it will come up sometimes like that. So this card is super important for allowing you to give over things that are just naturally bigger than you. And then the Goonie, we've talked about it enough already. It's your main attack combo. extender. We play it at 4, but once you see 1, you're basically have it for the rest of the game because Ancient's on delete, so you're gonna grab it back unless it gets bounced or anything. But then we should probably also talk about the inherit, which does come up sometimes because there are times in this deck where you do make a stack. Like I said before, you go Garuda X, pop something. The inherit, if this Digimon would Digivolve into Ancient, it reduces the Digimon cost by 2, which does come in handy. Say if you have a training on board, you can pop the training so your Garudamon can Digivolve an Ancient for basically free as long as this is in the stack. So that does happen on occasion as well when you do make stacks in this deck a decent amount of time.
Yeah, it's really nice when a deck allows you to heavily focus on combo plays, you know, where thinking matters a lot. And then
Yes.
if you want to, you can just build a stack for, you know, when boards are immune or you can't really interact, or maybe you just need one more piece or something like that. So it's nice to have an alternative way to play.
Yes, there's so many multiple lines in this deck you can take.
Yeah, and then moving on up to level 5. So level 5s we've talked quite a bit about. They're mostly there to play Tamers. You know, the on-deletion effects are really nice for Garuda if for some reason you have to build a stack, and especially Garuda X when you have to build the stack, because for some reason, if you do have to, especially when we move on up and you build a stack with Medieval Gallant, just having a body that if they have to remove it by deleting it, you get a whole plethora of effects that just let you combo on either your turn or their turn.
Yes, exactly. So we talked a little bit about the Garudas. Let's talk about what is probably the best card in the deck, Garuda X. This is the main enabler, which will end probably I'd say 90% of your games and just enable you to do literally anything you want. This card was literally made for this deck. You can't create a card, honestly, better than this for birds. So let's look at it. On play, when Digivolve, you may return 1 red Digimon card. Not something archetype, just any red Digimon card from trash to hand. Then if you have Garuda X-Antibody in its sources, you get to pop someone with DP as much or less than it. And then on your turn, whenever one of your red Digimon cards return to trash your hand, one of your Digimon gains rush. And then there's also an inherit that just says on delete, trash your opponent's top security stack. I mean, this card is an uncommon, but it's better than a lot of the SRs in the set it came out. I'm just gonna say it right now. It's ridiculous. So just like you say, you do your combo, you play Garuda off Sora, then you slide to Garuda X, grab back any red Digimon card, grab back that Ancient, which is hard to get back. It's literally just Garuda X and Wings of Love that can really get it back. And then you can potentially pop something if they have something on the board still. And then since you returned a red Digimon card to your hand, you can give Garuda X or any other random Digimon you have on your board, Russ. So you can keep swinging. And you can just keep doing that over and over. Like if you have multiple Soras on board, you can do your combo. You can go Garuda, you can bounce Sora, go Garuda Ace, play Sora, slide to Garuda X, grab a Digimon back, which will trigger Sora again to play another Garuda, which will allow you to go into another Garuda X, grab something back while giving everything rush, and you do that 2 or 3 times in a turn, you're just dead.
Yeah, and something nice to point out too is if they are at 2 security, you can just play the Garuda. And
yes, you can just play Garuda X, and on play work, grab a Digimon and give itself rush, and just swing out like that.
Yeah, so in the event that aces are actually a problem, if they're at 2 security, you can just ignore that problem and just slam the Garuda and loop it.
Exactly. This card is incredible. I can't say enough good things about it. Everything on it is just amazing.
Yep. And then moving on, we go to our level 6s now, one of which is going to be probably the penultimate floodgate for some of the decks. It's an absolutely massive Gallantmon. And of course, we've already talked about it a bunch. We have the AncientGreymon, whose main job is to loop a Goonie, loop and play a Tamer, and do the damage that we need.
Do the damage to enable your combos, yes. So we talked about Ancient a lot, so let's talk about the newest edition, Medieval Gallant. This card is busted. Like, Garuda X is one thing, but Medieval Gallant is just absurd. Like, this card is good in any deck, but the more I play this deck, the more I realize just how absurdly busted it is in this one. So if you haven't had the fortune to play against Medieval Gallant yet, it does a lot of stuff. So when you would play this card, you can suspend any 2 Digimon to reduce the play cost by 4 to make it cost 7. It has Alliance and Vortex. And then when Digivolving, you can suspend any Digimon and then delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 8,000 DP or less, and for each other suspended Digimon, add 3,000 to that maximum deletion. And then all turns, when a Digimon is played, you may activate one of this Digimon's when Digivolving effects. So you use its suspend to play for 7. Medieval will see itself come into play, so you will be able to use it all turns to trigger the when Digivolving, to suspend and delete something, and then at the end of your turn, you'll be able to vortex into another thing. This card is so good at clearing out wide boards, not as good as clearing out wide boards like Death X, but this can clear out tall stacks as well, pretty easy because it has Vortex and Alliance. So for example, in the case tournament that I was recently participated in, one round I played against Garudamon, and there was one game where they had made their Galadex stack. They got me down to 2 security. They had their Galadex unsuspended. It was sitting at 23k. So I had 4 memory, a memory setter, a training, and a boost, no raising. What I did, I used the boost, went to 6, played a Biomon, used training to go to Goonie for free. I tucked in Zubaiga, went to 2, gave it +6, used a scramble to go to Garuda Ace to play another Sora. Then I slid to Garuda X for 0 to grab back Medieval from my trash. Used both Soras to play 2 Biomons. I suspended said Biomons to play Medieval for 7. Memory passes over to their turn, so their Galadex no longer has immunity to my effects. Medieval sees himself come into play. I suspend Galadex. End of turn, Vortex, use Alliance to suspend my now 14k Garuda X to swing over their Galadex for 25k.
So again, we are in a meta where DP does matter, and people
Exactly.
can still be caught off by this card because a lot of decks, when they're doing their game plan, they do their game plan and say, "Can you out me?" And if you set up your combo properly, you can find a way to out somebody because of this card.
Yes. Also, the fact that, again, it's all turns, unlike Death X, which is at the end of their turn. So you just get to do this twice in the turn cycle. It invalidates scrambles. Like, you can easily clear their board, then, they go to the start of their turn, they pop their scramble, they play their rookie, they get whatever on play it may have, and then Medieval will just pop it. So if they don't have anything in raising, they have to build up again. And while you may have given them like 7 memory, if they have to hard slam something, well, that just takes away from the memory they had to build up their stack and try and get back in the game. So it might look like an expensive play, but it's really not, especially when they have to build up and then try and out it and whatever else you have on the board, because you just spit out bodies so easily. So just being able to, it's just such a massive tempo swing. And that's just when you hard play. You can also just digivolve a card too. Then use, like you said, we said before, you just make a stack, you can digivolve it. And then if you play another body, you just trigger the when digivolving again with the all turns effect. It's just so good at clearing bodies and also doing damage too, since it does have Alliance. You play out, free play so many bodies, it's basically like another pseudo rush, being able to suspend that to get a security attack, an extra security attack and DP. So it's also just as good at clearing out security as Ancient is, and as well as just being able to clean up basically any board that doesn't have any form of protection.
And of course, moving on now, we're going on to our options. We do play a low count of what I would say is like the archetype stuff. We do have the brand new Scramble, we have the Wings of Love, and then I think you can just say we have the standard searching options, favoring boosts over training because boost search is 4, if you want to talk more about them.
Yes. So here's big things that I added when I was messing around with this deck. You see, some of the other lists that you might see in the East, they were playing like, I saw playing like 2 or 3 scrambles, and I also saw some things that were playing like Plasma Stake and things like that. But when I was testing it, I found the biggest thing was you need to see a Goonie and Ancient as quickly as you can. They are your main combo extenders. They allow you to do everything you need because it gives you that security attack so early in the game, so you have to see those cards. So you need as much searching as you can, hence why we have the 4 red memory boosts. The 2 training came later because I still needed just a little bit more search, and then the training also helps me able to pop it to go from BO to a Goonie for free. So So yeah, we added that. The 4-2 split I really like. You will bot deck some of your tamers sometimes. It's fine. You dig so much through your deck, you'll find them again, or they'll be in security. So it doesn't really matter. What really matters is finding your Goonies, finding your Ancient, finding your Garuda X so that you can do your combo kill. And then as for the other ones, Wings of Love is just another combo extender. Play a Tamer, Red Tamer. If you have a Sora, return a red Digimon card, trash to hand to trigger your Sora to enable your combos for 2. And in security, if they hit it, you get to play a Beal from hand or trash and you get it. So it's a really good card in this deck if you're set up. If you're not set up, it's kind of just like whatever. So we have it as a 1-of. If you see it, it's great. You 2 costs, start your combo kill off. If you don't, it's like, okay. And then we have 1 Scramble. Scramble's still a really good card, especially in this deck, since you just get to play your BO. If you'd say play BT13 BO, bounce a Chrissy, warp to Garuda at the start of your turn. You do build some stacks, so playing it, Digivolve is fine, or you could just play it the past turn. Only have it at 1 though, because, well, mainly other decks play Medieval. Like I said before, Medieval does invalidate Scrambles. So if they wipe their board and you have your Scramble on board, if you don't have anything else, well, you're kind of SOL. So just as 1 is fine. That's kind of where I feel pretty good about this option split as it is. You could mix or match it to your personal preference, but this is how I feel. It's maximum efficiency wise.
And then last but not least, we'll move on to our Tamers. Of course, we've already talked about the Analog Youth. It is what lets us keep using our raising whenever we have a Goonie warp, and then it'll die. So when it dies as Ancient, it'll let us hatch in the raising, and then once we retain turn, we can put, for example, another start of main Biomon in our raising, which will let us, dig for if somehow we don't grab our second Ancient. Most likely we can dig through half our deck on turn 2 if things go our way, from all the Digivolving, all the attacking, and just Boost is digging a bunch of cards. So we're able to dig quite a bit. So once finding 1 Ancient is mandatory, finding the second Ancient is not that hard.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And then, of course, we have our bird tamers, and I'll let you talk about them.
Yes, so we talked about Sora a bunch, so let's talk about the other one. Let's start with Akiho. So she's the 1-of, on play, reveal top 4, add a red vaccine to hand. Good. And then on your turn, when you play a Digimon in the Archetype, you can suspend her to give one of your Digimon Rush. So she's kind of like Garuda X-ish. We have that 1 because Garuda X is amazing and it basically does everything, but sometimes you do need an extra rush enabler. So playing Akiho as a 1-of is usually fine. She digs, then she allows you to give something extra rush so you can get those extra swings in for game. And then we also talked about Christy a little bit before. We have her at 3 because she's just amazing of being able to give you those sticky bodies, giving something the on play, playing BT13 BO, the bounce to warp, replay, go to Garuda Ace to pop a blocker, BT13 to just free play this without fear of overflow. And then again, the start of turn, gain a memory. Like I said, there will be times that you just have multiple of hers out, so you just push out the Biomon, you gain 2 or 3 memory, which is everything you need, especially if you have a memory setter to just combo kill your opponent off. And then Sora, as we talked about throughout this whole video, is just the enabler to allow you to just do the ridiculous amount of plays this deck can do. Once they're at 3 to 2 security, it's just your whole ball game. You bounce anything, you're just going off. You just keep constantly playing her with Garuda Ace, going to Garuda X, bouncing, playing more birds, giving those birds rush with Akiho or Garuda X. You just keep doing that until they're dead.
So that's the deck profile that we have for Ancient Birds, but I would like to talk about, since it is a combo deck, let's start basic play pattern for this deck, if you'd like to go through that, because pretty much it's find a Goonie, find Ancient, turn 2, get a couple checks, and then set up your plays from there.
Yes. So ideally you will have one of your BOs that gain memory, usually the SR BO if you're missing a piece, with an analog on board. You push that out, go to a Goonie, swing, warp to Ancient, get those 2 checks in without hitting anything disastrous in security, gain a memory off Biomon, leave them at 1 so that it will die via the Goonie warp, and then your analogs will be able to gain the memory back to retain turn so that you can use Ancient to set up a Sora and start that combo play going. That's kind of the main thing you want to try and do every game. Of course, it's not going to happen like that every game, which is why you have so much search in the deck so that you can dig and find other pieces that you might need. Other times you can just push out and start swinging. Like if you go first, you set up Digimon Raising, play a Sora, then you can just push out next turn, swing, hit something, bounce Sora, play a body, play Sora back, or play a boost. So you can just keep it going, because once their security is knocked down a little bit, the moment you return something from trash to hand, you just keep going off. Or you could always just slam Garuda Ace for 4. Say, for example, if they give you 4, you have a boost, or you push out a BO, you have a Chrissy, you go to 4, and you could slam Garuda Ace, Digivolve to Garuda X, return something to hand, pop a body if they have anything, give something Rush, which will also trigger your Sora, so you can bounce Sora, play another body, and just keep the combo play going that way. Then, of course, if you were to say, if they have something you want to out, if you slam Garuda Ace, go to Garuda X, play a body, you can, if they have a big stack you want to get rid of, you can then suspend that body and the body you played off Sora to go and play Medieval Gala for 7. And then it will either pop that body, or you can just Vortex and then Alliance with your Garuda X, which will kill anything that's 19k or less. Or if you did an Aguni into Zuba, blah, 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 you can go all the way up. Like I said, I swung over a Galadex with 25k. So there are many different things you could do. You could also always just Digivolve Medieval on top of your Garuda if you want to make a stack like that. And then it will be a must remove that has some juicy on deletes as well. So there's so many different lines and combos you could do. Honestly, every time I play this deck, I'm still finding different ways you can mix and match, the ways you can play your cards. So it's just, it takes a little bit to get used to it, but once you see the lines, you'll understand. It is just, there will be games you think you won't be able to win, and then you're just like, oh wait, they're dead. Okay.
Yeah, one of the lovely things about birds is if you do try to pick up birds, the start is really simple. It's find a Goonie, find Ancient, do damage.
Yes.
And then you can slowly start learning all the combos, because the main premise of the deck is get them to 3 security. Because once they're at 3 security, you can do every combo in the deck except for hard playing a Garuda X. That is the only limitation you have once you get them down to 2 security, but once you do, you can play your whole deck.
Yes.
So that's about all I had. Do you have anything else you want to add for birds before we end?
Garuda X should have been an SR, and Medieval Gala should be on the watch list. The card is too good.
All right, with that, thank you guys for watching a Bancho Boys video. Y'all have yourself a wonderful day.
See ya.